You are on the cat tree at the minute, so both of my directors are actually sitting right behind you, one up there and one down there. So if you just start like earthquaking all over the place, it's because my cats are having a bath and shaking the tree. Luckily for you, I have read some fantastic books so far in my life that I've given 5 stars to. It's been a long time since I've gone through my 5-star shelf, and I want to see what's on there. Let's just get right into it. The first category on the top is just there is no language. There's no language to describe how much I love these books. That's it. When I try to talk about these books, I can't. I just shut down, can't speak to you about them. I love them too much to put any kind of words to them. The next category is just certified Emma fave. These are absolutely deserving of their 5-star rating, deserving of their place in my favorites category, and I love them to death. I would recommend them probably to anyone, any place, anytime. Very solid, amazing books. The next category down is just right place at the right time. These are books that I don't think necessarily I maybe would have given 5 stars to if I hadn't been in the exact right mood, period of time in my life, who I was reading them with, what the circumstances were, etc. And I know that if I maybe read them at a different time, they would totally not be 5 stars, but because the stars aligned for me at that particular point, I gave them 5 stars at that time. Next category down, I feel like we're gonna have a lot in here. This one is needs a reread. These are books that either too much time has elapsed that I'm not sure anymore what I would think of them, if I'd still give them a 5-star, or I'm just like, was that really a 5-star? Was that really a 5-star? More research needs to be done. And finally, we have the last tier, which is just what was I thinking? Yeah. These are books that I don't think would hold up for me as a 5-star favorite. So my iPad here with a few little notes here and there with my whole Goodreads list as well pulled up, which is nice. I'm just gonna pull at random. These are in no particular order. Some of these I've read when I was a kid, and some of these I just finished reading this month. So we've got quite a long time period on here as well. The first one I see here that's just caught my gaze is The Iliac Crest by Cristina Rivera Garza. This is a certified Emma fave. This is a certified Emma fave 100%. This is a book that I came across at random, and this just blew me away. This is so good. This is like a detective novel. It's deeply unsettling. There's a lot of body horror in here. There's a lot of identity crises and issues and identity horror in here as well. I really love this. The synopsis that totally caught me off guard was that this follows a man and 2 women knock on his door in the middle of the night and knock knock. Who's there? It's the We Know Your Secret ladies, and according to these ladies, the secret is that they know that this man is actually a woman. It's a fabulous piece of Mexican lit, and yeah, certified. Stamp. We have Even If This Love Disappears Tonight by Misaki Ichicho, I believe. This one is 100% right place at the right time because this is a light novel. It's kind of like YA romance, but think more like Your Name kind of style. It's a little bit slice of life, a little bit of romance, a little bit of high school drama, but I read this for a 24-hour readathon when my best friend Carolyn was staying with me, and I was just in the right place at the right time. Like, my emotional state was up there, 10 out of 10. Like, anything was ready to break me and make me sob and make me break down. And Even If This Love Disappears Tonight, which is about a girl with a brain injury who wakes up every day not remembering, like, she has no long-term memory anymore. She can only remember that 24-hour time period, and it's about her and this boy in her class. It just destroyed me. I 100% know though that if I had read it maybe at a different time in my life, or when my best friend wasn't there, or when I just wasn't in such a turbulent emotional state, I don't think I would have given it 5 stars. But as it is, it's just beautiful that moments like that happen though, because now this book holds such a special place in my heart. And there is, I think, a Netflix show out. Not ready to see it. I'm not ready to see it. I'm seeing Hamlet. I'm seeing Hamlet by Shakespeare. Where do I want to put this? I first read Hamlet in high school, although of course I think it was an abridged edition because Hamlet is quite long. And then I picked Hamlet back up in university, and I was like, wow. It like splits these two very, very perfectly. I don't know which one I want to put it into. I think certified Emma fave. I think Hamlet is not one of those ones that are like the core pieces of my soul, but Hamlet by Shakespeare obviously is just fantastic. If you haven't read it since high school, if you've never read it, like, let now be your time. It is phenomenal. Such a phenomenal work. I'm sure you've heard of it. I won't say anymore. Next we have Gibran with The Prophet. I think this cover is The Prophet. I am gonna put The Prophet into Needs a reread. I think needs a reread. I read The Prophet. This is my second work that I read by this author a few years ago. This was a gift sent to me by a viewer. Thank you so much. I loved it at the time, obviously. I gave it 5 stars. I think, though, that The Prophet, which is a book of like poetic, essentially like life advice, very akin to other things I've enjoyed by Rilke for that matter. I'm not sure if I'm just not that person anymore, and I need to reread this to see if I'm still as much in agreement or astounding wow at the language of The Prophet. So definitely need to reread that one. I feel happy with that there. What have we next? This one is calling to me. This is The Girl Who Drank the Moon by Kelly Barnhill. It's spanning these two. Do you know what? I think I must put it in needs a reread because I read this pretty early on in like my booktube journey, and so I was widely read, but I hadn't read so many amazing books yet at that point that had just blown reading and literature out of the water for me and expanded what was possible and what my taste really was. But The Girl Who Drank the Moon is a very, 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 very sweet middle grade. Do you want up there, Cal? Yeah, you can do it. Oh my god, I'm gonna turn the camera around for you. This is what's going on behind you right now. Hi, Callie. Okay. All right, thank you. I'm gonna take my glasses off. They're actually too dirty to see out of. Do you know that? I remember that this book brought me to tears. I remember this being very sweet. It's about so much. There is a very interesting cast of characters. I remember having a very, very big attachment to the swamp monster in here, whose name was Glurk. Definitely needs a reread. This definitely needs a reread to see if it would hold up. Okay, we have Frankenstein in Baghdad by, we'll do Frankenstein in Baghdad by Ahmed Sadawi. I'm gonna put this in certified MFA for sure. This is a retelling of Frankenstein set in 2005 Iraq. The context for Frankenstein in this one is that there's a man who has pieced together a corpse and I don't know if he's intending to even reanimate it. I don't think that's part of the thing, but he has pieced together a corpse of different people, casualties of the conflict in Baghdad at that time, and his goal is to make obviously the US as well as people internationally recognize that these people who are dismantled in this way by bombs in this case are still very much whole people who have been killed. It escalates a lot. I really enjoyed this. I don't think the translation is very strong from my memory. I do really wish I could read this in its original language, but while we're there, let's also do Frankenstein. I think Frankenstein... Yeah, I think if I put a book in this category, we're just going to stare at each other for a few seconds because I can't say anything. This book continually means new things to me, and it honestly, as I've grown up, has continued to mean more and more to me. I've identified with so many things more and more and more as I've grown, and so it's just beyond for me. I love it to bits and pieces. So absolutely, there's no language. Mary Shelley took it all and put it into Frankenstein. After Dark here, I think by Haruki Murakami. This one is special to me. I think this one as well needs to go into right place at the right time because After Dark by Murakami is a book that I read at, I think, the height of the pandemic, definitely a time of quarantine, and because of the book's social nature, it felt so incredibly special to me to be reading about connections that are taking place during the night in Tokyo at a time when people weren't allowed or it wasn't safe to be doing these things. It gave me everything that the world couldn't at that time period, and it was just so incredibly special. Also, the music in this provided basically the playlist for the pandemic for me because Murakami puts so much music into his work and I love it. This introduced me to so much great music. This came to me when I most needed it. I will forever remember those nights alone in my room in quarantine reading After Dark. Okay, we have First Love by Turgenev, and that one is going straight into needs a reread. I think I was a little bit impressionable. not to say that Turgenev isn't great, but I think I was still a little bit easy to impress when I read First Love, which is a novella about people recounting their experiences falling in love for the first time or having an experience with love for the first time. However, this did really impress me because it went places that I was not expecting for a book purported to be about the subject matter, and it was really interesting. But I think now, would I give it 5 stars? Not so sure. I would need to reread it. Next we have Small Things Like These by Claire Keegan. I'm gonna throw this one, honestly, it kind of bridges these two. Because the books in the Certified Emma fave category, I just love a little bit more, and so I think I'm gonna put this one in the right place at the right time as well. I read Small Things Like These this year. I gave it 5 stars. It is just fantastic. It is a fantastic, you know what? Never mind. Thinking about it, Certified Emma fave. I really needed a good piece of literature, and Claire Keegan came along and was like, here you go. This is about a man in a small Irish town in the 80s, and he is making deliveries to a convent. He sees something in the convent. 10 out of 10, the writing above, I mean, everything, okay, everything, but the writing really swept me off my feet. I think she's brilliant, sparse, and delicious. The next book I see here is one that's very old, and that is Entwined by Heather Dixon. This is a YA retelling of the fairy tale 12 Dancing Princesses, which I've seen some great retellings come out of that fairy tale. I think it's beautiful, wonderful. I've read this book a couple times. I think I gave it 5 stars each time. Does it need a reread, or was I at the right place at the right time? No, I'm gonna stand by it, but I think I was in the right place at the right time because I read it in high school, I believe, and so much of this book has stayed with me over the years. Like, the imagery is delicious from what I remember. We follow Azalea, who is the eldest of the 12 daughters, and they're grieving after their mother's death, and so they have to wear all black, but when she discovers a portal or a gateway or just a door in her room, she leads her sisters into kind of this other place, and it's beautiful. It's like I'll never get the imagery out of my mind from this book. It has stuck with me year after year after year. The villain in this book has stuck with me year after year after year. It's the kind of like almost Coraline imagery in my mind is what I compare it to. It just feels so fresh every time I think about it. It is never dulled in my memory, and it's always there, like a little touchstone, and even more so because the pavilion or the whimsical enchanted place that they fall into is like winter themed and icicle themed, silver. It's just beautiful. I'm in a pickle because I don't know what to do about this. I'm seeing War and Peace by Leo Tolstoy. It is true that I gave it 5 stars. And do I want to do this to myself? I think I need to reread War and Peace. Why would I put that there? I think I need to reread War and Peace. I am a much more experienced reader and a different person as well, obviously. And I have been feeling not quite so charitable towards Tolstoy in the past few years. Would I still probably give it a 5 star if I read it now? Yes, but here's the thing, maybe not enjoyment wise, because the way that I like rate books 5 stars is if I feel my whole like soul inside of them, or the reading experience was just like an experience that I had that I would literally pay money for probably, or that I obviously for some of these I did pay money for. The loftiness that I remember from War and Peace is maybe not so much where I am anymore. I would read it very differently now. Who wants a reading War and Peace vlog part 2? Oh, okay, we're gonna thank Tumblr for the next 5 star, which is the Velveteen Rabbit. That's probably a certified Emma fave. I actually didn't read that as a child. I read that as a teenager. After I had seen it all over Tumblr, I asked for the book. I think I got this for Christmas, maybe, and love it. This is an illustrated children's book, and it is so special and so beautiful, and it is a certified Emma fave. It will just make you cry, probably. To be loved is to be changed is very much in that one. You know who desperately needs a reread from here is actually Cloud Atlas by David Mitchell. That absolutely needs a reread. I was introduced to this in high school when I first watched the film. I love the film so much. That was an experience for me at that point in my life. I sobbed my heart out at that film, and then I very quickly went out and bought the book, read it, gave it 5 stars. However, because I read it in high school, I know there's just so much I missed, and probably so much more there to appreciate, and so much more there that I do hope if I reread it now, it would still be 5-star material. I think you know what we must do next. I'm looking at you and I think you know what is coming, what needs to happen. The Phantom of the Opera. Obviously, it's a certified Emma favorite, but this one transcends. This one is transcendent for me. This one, I have had probably the longest history of any book on this list, which is interesting because some of these are children's books, obviously. But I first saw it called to me. In sleep, it sang to me from the shelves of my elementary school library when I was in 3rd grade, and I checked it out and I read it, and it just kept coming back over and over and over again to me in my life. And it's a silly, goofy book. It's a silly, goofy classic. I will stand by that. But to me, it really is everything. It also, like Frankenstein, continually means so much to me. I haven't read it for a few years, which is rare, so maybe this fall we will do a renewed Phantom of the Opera reading vlog. But the last time I read it, I was just like, this is even better than I remember. I'm sure you know the story of Phantom of the Opera, or you've heard of it, but the book is deeply funny. Like, it is like my sense of humor in a nutshell. I think it's horrendously funny and outrageous, but also obviously so sad, and the language is hilarious. I love the detective novel aspect of it. That's really interesting to me. Blending fact and fiction is all. I'm just gonna stop. I'm gonna stop because there was supposed to be no language for these books in this category, but here I am going on and on about it. So this next one, however, there is no language for, and this is a book that I just read last year for the first time, and that is An Oresteia by Anne Carson, or translated by Anne Carson. Essentially, she takes 3 plays from the trilogy from the 3 great Athenian tragedians, and she smushes them into one. So we have we have Agamemnon, Electra, and the hell is his name? Orestes. Yeah, this transcends language for me, and Carson transcends language for me. This is the greatest thing I've read from her so far. She is one of my idols, one of my literary idols for sure, and this was my favorite book from last year. The time I had reading this was just unparalleled. This is a book, the books in the top category, these are ones that I like physically feel in my body. They live there somewhere, and they literally, like, I feel physical symptoms of them when I think of them, or when I speak about them, or even more so when I read them. So this one's easy. This is Solaris by Stanislav Lem. This is a certified Emma fave for sure. I love this to bits and pieces. I also need to reread it, but I know it would be a 5-star again, because this is about scientists exploring a planet the planet is very much alive and has maybe a consciousness and a memory and its own desires, and there is so much I would do with this book now, being very much into eco-criticism at uni and discovering that whole world. Reading Solaris again would be bountiful, but that is a certified Emma fave for sure. Highly recommend. Okay, go out right now, go read it. Another very, 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 very easy certified Emma fave is Lord of the Rings. Absolutely, that is up there. Yeah, of course. Need we say more? No. This next one is going to go into the right place at the right time, and that is another illustrated children's book called The 11th Hour by Graham Base. I read this when I was probably 8 or 9. This is fantastic. The illustrations in here, I still remember, are some of the most gorgeous, delicious, delectable things. I love this illustration style. It is so beautiful. This is about an elephant who is planning his 11th birthday party. I still have this book memorized. When Horace turned 11, he decided there should be some kind of celebration for my friends, he said, and me. And though I've been the age of 8 and 9 and 6 and 7, this is the very first time I'll have ever been 11. And so he set to work and wrote the name of every guest, and finally, 11 sorts of food that elephants like best. I'll stop. I would just memorize whole books or chapters of novels as a kid, and I guess everyone just thought that was perfectly normal. This is fantastic. I still love this. I still get such a gooey feeling when I think about this. This is also so much more than just like a sweet, beautiful book about an elephant throwing his 11th birthday party. Also, can I just say that this Horace guy is rich as hell. This is the richest 11-year-old kid I've ever laid my eyes on. Oh my, he literally lives in like a palace mansion or something. But it's a mystery as well. And I loved a good mystery as a kid. I loved anything that was a good puzzle or that I could sink my brain into. And the mystery in the 11th hour is that at the 11th hour, when everyone is supposed to be gathering for the feast of 11 sorts of foods that elephants like best, the feast has gone missing. The feast has gone missing. One of Horace's friends is a little snake. There actually is a snake in this book because his friends are all different kinds of animals. And someone ate the whole entire feast. And so now you, the reader, have to go back to the beginning of the book and figure out who ate the food. Oh my god, it blew my world as like an 8-year-old. It was So good. We have another certified Emma fave with The Brothers Karamazov by Dostoevsky. That one, yeah, with no doubt in my mind, is a 5 out of 5 certified fave that I will recommend until the day that I die. Difficult, yeah. Long, yeah. Worth it, yeah. There's actually a book on here that I think might be the first in the what was I thinking category. Not that it's not a masterpiece, not that it's not a great, fantastic book, but I think, yeah, I'm like, did that really ring true for you, Emma? Was that a 5-star? And that is Samuel Beckett's Endgame. Oh, I'm so sorry. Kelsifer. I don't have good memories of reading this, to be honest. I've actually read this play 4 times. It's a very short play. It leaves me feeling disgusting every time after reading it, which is fantastic. That's great. It's very powerful. One time I finished reading it and I threw up. That was probably more because I had a concussion and shouldn't have been reading than the book. But I think I was talking about Endgame. Yeah, very good. Do I think it's a 5-star? Definitely not enjoyment-wise. I'll tell you what, not enjoyment-wise. So yeah, maybe down there. Okay, I think the next one, Ministry of Time by Colleen Bradley, is definitely right place at the right time. I read this at a time in my life when I just really needed something like this. One that I think is going in there is No Language, purely because I actually just love it so much. Is actually a YA novel, and I'm sure you know what it is. It's A Castle in the Clouds. That is more than a certified Emma favorite. The feeling that evokes in me is unexplainable. It's about a young girl who goes to work at a hotel in the Swiss Alps. A lot of my favorite books cover a specific topic that I am very, 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 very interested in, and the only other Murakami on this list is Dance, Dance, Dance. I'm gonna put that one in a certified Emma fave. Dance, Dance, Dance discusses a lot about the hotel, and that was evidently my favorite part of this book, was its whole take on capitalism in the 80s, the mega hotel. I did part of my thesis, my undergrad thesis, on Dance, 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 and I loved it. I love his writing style, and yeah, with Dance, 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 the hotel. Like, it's just the exploration of the hotel that thrilled me. I see another one that defies all language. There's no words to tell you how much I love it, and that's 100 Years of Solitude. 100 Years of Solitude, this like changed the world of literature forever for me. The reading person I was before and after reading this book, it's a very clear divide for me. I will always remember reading it for the first time and seeing, I think, what was possible in literature. That was so exciting, and the way that he writes, it's really the way that he writes that is just wow. And I mean, obviously I'm not even reading it in the original Spanish. So Ember and the Ice Dragons by Heather Fawcett. Where do I want to put this? I think I want to put this in right place at the right time. This is a very, very touching middle grade book about winter, dragons, Antarctica. Oh my friends. Icefields by Thomas Wharton. I can't believe I found one of the top favorite books of mine of all time, and completely by accident, at a hotel in the mountains. I can't believe that. I can't believe it. It was there. I found it in Banff, in a bookstore. I read it, and this became one of my favorite books of all time, obviously. Forever and always. I can't read it. I can't tell you about it. I can't speak. It's about a man who falls down a glacier. We're talking about my favorite books of all time, and my favorite freighter, my favorite lake freighter, is right in front of me on the water, sailing on by. Okay, well, now I'm gonna be so distracted for the rest of the video. That is a beautiful ship. That is a beautiful ship. I love that ship. Okay, we have Autobiography of Red by Anne Carson. I'm gonna be honest, it needs a reread. It needs a reread. I think I would read it so much better, if that makes sense now. Autobiography of Red does a lot of things. She's always doing a lot of things. It's a retelling. It's a novel in it's poetry. It's in verse. It's beautiful. It's about a monster from the myth of Hercules, and it needs a reread. I want to pull up my little notes for the rest of these because I'm really having a hard time deciding on these. Basically imported my Goodreads 5-star list into the app I use a lot to plan my videos, which is Notability, and then I've just written little notes next to them. Okay. The note I have next to this book is I would read this every single day if I could, and so I don't know if I want to put it into There's No Language or into a certified Emma fave, and that's Howl's Moving Castle by Diana Wynne Jones. I want to reread it every single day, but I think certified Emma fave is Howl's Moving Castle because it's just such a part of my anatomy. The next one I have notes on that I think I know where I want to put it, and that is Firebringer by David Clement Davies. This is a book I read as a kid as well, and it needs a reread, frankly. I don't know if that would hold up for me now. I know the feelings that it evoked in me as a kid were like huge. I remember loving this book. This is a book about deer and their world. Is set in Scotland, and I just remember it being so beautiful. However, I don't know if I would still enjoy this now, like at all. I have no clue if I would. So that's a book I haven't read in eons. Stories of God. Where is it? Here it is. Where do I want to put this? It needs a reread. It does need a reread. I think I'm going to also, a lot of these need a reread. I also read Stories of God during the pandemic. This is a collection of stories that Rilke wrote after the inspiration he took from his trip to Russia. A lot of them are about people's relationship with religion and with God, and I obviously love them. A sneaky little moment to say I am working with Notability all year long, so if you guys want to grab a discount, or try Notability yourself, a link is in my description box. This one is going right into certified Emma favorite, and that's 1984 by George Orwell. To me, this is not a perfect book by any means, but they don't need to be perfect books, to be honest, for me to give them 5 stars, for me to love them so much. I read 1984 a few years ago at the recommendation of so many of you on here. Untold Night and Day by Bae-Swa needs a reread. This is one of the trippiest books I've ever read. Untold Night and Day is, how do I even describe it? I don't know. What I will say is about a woman who goes searching for, I think, one of her co-workers in Seoul, and things very quickly. One of my favorite things in this was the repeated language, like word for word sections of the book were repeated elsewhere. It's very, very trippy, and I really loved it, but this needs a reread, and again, I think I would honestly get so much more out of it now. I see one that, what was I thinking? What was I thinking, plainly? I don't know. The book that I don't think is a 5-star is The Dark Descent of Elizabeth Frankenstein by Kirsten White. This is a retelling of Frankenstein. There's a lot of Frankenstein books on this list, as you can see, but this one I do not think would hold up now. This is a retelling of Frankenstein from like Elizabeth's point of view, and I obviously really enjoyed it a lot at the time, but I read this again very early on. I don't know, like I will reread it, I do own it, but I just don't think this is truly a 5-star. I don't think this should truly be on the list. Another book that I was in the right place at the right time for, it's another Heather Dixon. I wish she would come back and write more books. Please, someone get her back. It's The Enchanted Sonata. This is so great. This is so great because I read this during the winter. You have to read it during the winter. A lot of these right place at the right time are probably going to be winter Christmas books. So good. This is a retelling of The Nutcracker. There's like a lot of Phantom of the Opera, Pied Piper stuff going on in there too. Really charming. Heaven and Hell by Jan Kellerman Stephenson. I'm gonna be honest, I think this is not a 5-star book. That hurts to say. I think I wanted it to be a 5-star book, but looking at Heaven and Hell and looking at the rest of the books on this list, and knowing other books, frankly, that I've given 4 stars that I've read recently, I think in my like ordering of things, obviously I think when you read each new book, your kind of calibration resets and reshuffles, if you know what I mean. So Heaven and Hell would get shuffled down a bar. It's still a fantastic book, it really truly is, but it's not up there for me like the rest of these ones are, if that makes sense. And I've read other books recently that I've given 4 stars to that I've enjoyed a lot more than Heaven and Hell. Fate of the Tearling is maybe one of the only fantasy books, proper, I don't know, like modern fantasy books on here that I've given 5 stars to. That needs a reread. That whole series needs a reread. This is the, what is it called? Is it just called the Queen of the Tearling series? This is one of the books that really got me through early days of my brain injury, and the ending of the series, Fate of the Tearling, is the conclusion, broke me. I bawled my eyes out, but this is a series that I have been dying to reread the whole trilogy, so I will get back to you on that one if it holds up for me. Anne of Green Gables is a certified Emma favorite. Absolutely. So good. I will actually be rereading Anne of Green Gables very soon, because we're going to be reading the whole entire Anne series for Game of Tomes. So if you want to join in, link is in the description for our book club. As is Portrait of the Artist as a Young Man by James Joyce. I can't believe that James Joyce is going into a certified Emma favorite. That's really exciting. This was also one of my favorite books that I read last year. This is my first full Joyce novel, and I loved it. Okay, see, looking at this, Little Women would rank a bar lower than my certified Emma favorites in terms of enjoyment. So maybe it was just the right place at the right time. Maybe it was. Like, this one did bring me to tears as well. I really loved it. But for me, the 5 stars I gave Little Women is not the same 5 stars as I gave like stuff like The Iliac Crest or Hamlet, for sure. There was a lot I did not like about Little Women as well, but still a 5 star. Next book I see here is The Dark Hills Divide by Patrick Carman. This was a childhood favorite. I think I was in the right place at the right time. I was just a child crawling around in the dirt. Alexis, who is our main character in this fantasy book, gets to talk to animals. She goes on an adventure. I would spend hours in my backyard pretending I was her. Okay, Macbeth by Shakespeare. I kind of want to say, what was I thinking? Why do I feel that way? The play just felt very all over the place a little bit. It needs a reread, let's be honest. I'm not going to put Shakespeare in What Was I Thinking. I think that's wrong. That feels really wrong. So I need to reread Macbeth. I really do need to reread Macbeth, especially because I read it a little bit rushed for a university course. Macbeth I'll give you a reread, buddy. Okay, I won't be too harsh. The Halloween Tree by Ray Bradbury. Certified Emma favorite. Holy goodness. Grendel by James Gardner. Certified Emma favorite. Grendel. This is the story of Grendel from Beowulf. Matilda by Roald Dahl is a book that hurts. I read Matilda also in the 3rd grade, and that will forever always be a certified Emma favorite as well. Just like reading a little bit about myself, thinking about that book hurts. The movie kills my soul. And speaking of Matilda, it's not trash. It's Moby Dick, and it's lovely. Moby Dick by Herman Melville. I kind of want to put it in the top. I kind of want to put Moby Dick straight to the top. But I don't think I can because I haven't technically finished reading it yet. Sure, of Dorian Gray by Oscar Wilde. Certified Emma favorite. I haven't read that though in a few years. That desperately needs a reread, but I know. The next one, however, does need a reread, and that's another Gibran, and that is The Broken Wings. The Broken Wings is actually the first book that I read by him, and again, this is very lofty, very poetic, very idealized. The next one is Game of Thrones, the first book, although I've given more than, I think I've given the first 3 books of The Song of Ice and Fire 5 stars each, and I don't know. To be honest, I recently reread A Game of Thrones a few years ago with Carolyn because we were both reading it, and it was amazing, but I just think it was much more juvenile than I remember it being because I first read it in high school when that was probably some of the like most difficult adult literature I was reading at that time, or adult fantasy. So I don't know. Looking at it compared to the rest of the works on this list, I'm just going to put it in needs a reread because I do remember loving it and enjoying it so incredibly much, but the whole rest of the series absolutely needs a reread. Letters to a Young Poet. I think it's kind of been one of the books of my channel. To be honest, it's been the book that I think I've seen the most associated with my channel over the years and the most number of people picking up that, and 100 Years of Solitude and Phantom of the Opera. I think those have been the big 3. But because it is a collection of letters and not a novel, I think I'm gonna be happy putting it into a certified Emma fave, even though that book is like a pivotal thing in my being. This is a collection of letters that Rilke wrote in response to basically this young man who had sent him letters asking him, how do I be a poet? Or are my poems any good? The next one down here is Paradise Lost by John Milton. I think there's no language because Milton took it all. This is the epic poem about the fall of Satan and the fall of Adam and Eve. Turn of the Screw by Henry James. Certified Emma fave, 100%. That is a book I will always recommend. I think it's very tricky. That's the kind of book where if you're going into it and you're reading it and you're like, am I okay? Am I having, are my neurons collapsing? No, it's just Henry James doing atrocious, wonderful, amazing things with the sentences. Really love it. The classic ghost story of the person having the worst babysitting job of their whole entire life. Prometheus Unbound is another play. This is by Percy Bysshe Shelley. This needs a reread, 100%. I loved it when I read it. I think this would still be a 5-star for me, but this does need a reread. It's been quite a long time. I also read that during the pandemic, very, very early days of the pandemic, I believe, and it's wonderful. It's a retelling of Prometheus Bound, and so Shelley kind of flips it on its head and is very much representative of the social systems of the day, the government of his day, and everything he stood for as a romantic as well, and it was so good. Interview with the Vampire by Anne Rice, that's an easy certified Emma fave. House of Leaves by Markzed Danielewski. I actually read this for university, certified Emma fave. Something in that spoke to me very deeply. It freaked me out very deeply. This is a horror story about trauma, family trauma, houses that are bigger on the inside than they are on the outside. So much here. Highly recommend. Another absolute 5-star fantastic novel. It does need a reread, but I know it would be a 5-star, is Beloved by Toni Morrison. We've got a third row of certified Emma faves. Another huge recommendation. You can't go wrong with Beloved. The next book here is The Posthumous Memoirs of Bras Cubas by Machado de Assis. It needs a reread. It does need a reread. You know what? No. Let's be real. That's another certified Emma fave. These are all good. I'm sorry. They're all so good. Rilke's Book of Hours. Certified Emma fave. The Count of Monte Cristo by Dumas. Where does that go? I feel like there should have been like a category between There Is No Language and certified Emma fave, because The Count of Monte Cristo was so good. It's gonna have to go into certified Emma fave. No notes. Like literally no notes. It's just that for me, when I'm looking at this, I see that my top category are books that have like either raked through my soul or the language. Like I really prize the language of something probably above all else, to be honest. And The Count of Monte Cristo was just like pure bliss, pure fun, pure entertainment. Obviously that's a huge tome. Never boring. What is that? Oh, Season of Migration to the North. Certified Emma fave. That was spectacular. That one blew it out of the water. This is about a man coming back to his home country, Sudan, after spending time in England, and what that's like for him, that whole experience, but also more so hearing the experience of someone else who's gone through the same thing as him. Oh, The Notebooks of Malta Lawrence Brigga needs a reread. Straight up, that one needs a reread. This is the only novel that Rilke ever wrote. This is about a young man who's pretty disillusioned, alone, ill, sickly, locked up in a room in Paris. Next one absolutely needs a reread, and that is A Canticle for Leibowitz. This one I read for a science fiction course I took at uni. This is about humanity's future in a bit of a post-apocalyptic scenario. It deals a lot with nuclear bombs, nuclear power, and a lot of this is set in a monastery. Very interesting. However, my memory is so foggy on this one because it's been a while, but I remember being astounded and being so stirred by The Canticle. So yeah, this is by Walter M. Miller Jr. Phantom by Susan Kay. So Phantom is a retelling of the Phantom of the Opera's life. Needs a reread. I first read this one in the 6th grade because, much like the Phantom of the Opera and some of my other favorite books of all time, I stumbled upon them quite by accident. In fact, a lot of time it feels like the world is just putting my favorite books in front of me at the times when I need them, which just feels very special. But this one I found at a garage sale in a cardboard box, and in the 6th grade I was just like, this was the best thing ever. If Not Winter by Sappho. Okay, so what was I doing giving poetry fragments? Okay, they're not even real sentences, they are fragments of sentences, fragments of words sometimes. What am I doing giving that 5 stars? I think because it's Anne Carson. Realistically though, what was I thinking? I think it's just because anything Anne Carson has ever touched, I want to give 5 stars to, but If Not Winter are literally just like fragments. Like sometimes it's just 4 words on 1 page, like fragments of Sappho that we've discovered, and that's all we have left of her poetry and writing, and Anne Carson has translated them. But I think the experience, you know what? See, this is hard because I think it's more of like the experience and like the context around it and the talk about translation and what you're doing when you're dealing with such little material, rather than like the translations and the fragments themselves, because obviously you're not gonna read like 5 words and be like, wow, incredible, amazing. It's more like you are doing the interpretation, you are bringing so much of yourself to the text. And so I think the experience itself was 5-star, fascinating, very interesting to think about, but like the text itself, you're getting what you give pretty much. So I'm gonna say it needs a reread. Okay, it needs a reread, I think. Second last one is The Bloody Chamber by Angela Carter. That's a certified Emma fave. That's very easy. Angela Carter is a goddess, and this was incredible. This is another short story collection, actually. Never mind. We do have a short story collection on here. It doesn't feel like that, I guess, because this is her reimagining many, many dark fairy tales, and I love it. It is so lush. And the very last book on here is Pedro Paramo by Juan Rulfo. This is the book that inspired 100 Years of Solitude. And it is, for the final time, a certified Emma favorite. Okay, so that is our final tier ranking. I guess I really truly have a top 7 books ever of all time. But I love all of these so much. I love all of these so much. Looking at this makes me incredibly happy because this is the best of the best. This is the best of the best. These are what I've been able to find in my years of life so far, and this makes me so happy. So looking at this, we only have 3 that really like got bumped down, and then we have a pretty large needs a reread category, which is exciting. It's so fun to revisit old faves. Place at the Right Time is a very sweet category for me. I'm seeing a lot of books I loved when I was little, or would have loved when I was little, and love so much now. Certified Emma faves, that's a very big one. Those are my recommendations, okay? Those are my, like, if someone stops me on the street, I'm whipping out one of those. That actually makes me emotional. These books just mean so much to me, guys. Hope you enjoyed. I hope you got some recommendations looking at this. And thank you very much for chilling out here. I am gonna go now as the day winds down into evening and the moon is out. I will see you very soon in my next video. Please go have a fabulous night, day, morning, evening, and ciao. Portrait of the artist as a young man. What a calm reaction that was. Oh, my ankle. I feel like you're gonna fall over. I feel like you're gonna fall over. Oh, Christopher!